An opening statement from Coach Alford, and then questions for the coach.
Yeah, obviously just excited to be here. We talk about it all the time. It's a blessing to be in this tournament, and our guys have done an awful lot of good work over the last 4 months to get to this point, and very rewarded because of it. And hopefully we can continue to play well. We've done a lot of good things on both sides of the basketball all year, and our guys have listened well and worked well and matured well. So being a part of March Madness is always a very special feeling, and I think our guys are very excited about it. We weren't very experienced last year. We got a lot more experience this year, so hopefully that equates to playing better basketball this year. So very fortunate and pleased to be here.
At what point this year did you think that your team had the talent to make it here and to advance?
Yeah, it's always that's a tough one because we knew we could be pretty good, but didn't mean you were going to make the NCAA tournament. You know, we talk about it all the time. 362 schools and only 68 make it. It's the most exclusive tournament. It's the hardest tournament to get in college athletics, let alone try to advance and win. So, you know, in the next 3 weeks, everybody's ending their year with a loss except one. So it's a very demanding tournament. But we knew this time last year when we got beat in the tournament and we started putting together a little bit of additions to our roster and just watching our guys last spring come out of the late season and the postseason that we had last year, we knew we were going to have more experience. And that experience has been one of the reasons why we're back here. They tasted a little bit of it last year, but they wanted more of it. And they've been able to accomplish a lot more this year along the lines, and they've been very, very consistent. So we knew we had a chance to get there, but then being in a very demanding league like the Mountain West Conference, you knew you were going to have to play well. And we've played really good basketball January and February and early March that have helped get us into this tournament. So we're well prepared because of the league we came from, and we knew we had a very good team, but that doesn't mean there are a lot of good teams that aren't in this tournament. So, but we knew we had a collection of guys that could get us back here.
Can we ask you to please identify yourself and what your media outlet, please?
Alex Margulies, Nevada Sportsnet. You look at the big man inside for Dayton Holmes. Your thoughts on just what you've seen from him on film and how maybe he compares to Jaden Ledee, who's maybe the Mountain West best big man, and what kind of stands out there?
Yeah, you know, one, our league again, the Mountain West Conference, has helped prepare us for that. Playing against Osabor, playing against Ledee, other bigs. You know, New Mexico's big. So we've been able to play against really good bigs, and this individual, Holmes, is outstanding. He can shoot the three a little bit. He handles the ball a lot. He's got an inept ability to draw fouls. He gets to the free throw line like 10 times a game. So that's where it all starts, but their guard plays outstanding. They're one of the best three-point shooting teams in the country. So doubling him and giving him a lot of attention opens up a lot of things to the perimeter. So we got to be very careful. We got to be diligent in how we go about guarding him and the rest of the team. But obviously a huge concern because he's been a dominant player all year, and he's got looks like a very good pro prospect as well. So hopefully we've been prepared by the league players that we've had to guard already.
Matthew Coles, AP. How do you get your players to focus? And you know, it's not just another game; it's a tournament game, and you guys experienced a little bit of that last year. But how do you get your players to play their best, to have the energy, but you know, play within themselves?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think a lot of that has to do with what your experience is. Last year we had no experience. You know, Jared was the only one to play in an NCAA tournament when he was at Oregon State, and that was a COVID year. There was nobody in the stands, so even he had a different experience last year. So sometimes you, as a player, you work so hard, and this is what you want to get to, and then you get to a situation like this, and you excel. And it's like, we made it. Well, if that's your approach, then it's quick-lived, and it was quick-lived last year, and we didn't play good basketball. There's a different feel to this team. Doesn't mean we're going to advance. That just doesn't happen. You got to go out and play. You got to play your A game. And now we have been in an outstanding league, and the Mountain West has drilled us for the last 2 months that if you don't play your A game, you lose. The difference when you get to this point, you don't get another game. And I think our guys have a little bit more experience now. That I haven't seen this team exhale Last year there was an exhale because it was like, we got in. We're last team in, but we got in. And this team's been a little bit different. I think they wanted to prove themselves all year long, which is what they've done. And I think they want to stay here as long as they can because they want to experience more of what March Madness is all about. So hopefully we just stay in character and we put our best foot forward. And if we stay in character and do what we're supposed to do, then things take care of themselves. If it's not good enough, then we can still look in the mirror and say, hey, this is who we were, this is who we are, and we did those things the best of our ability. And hopefully that's what happens to these young men because they're very deserving of it.
Alex Margulies, Nevada Sportsnet. 2 areas for Dayton. You mentioned the three-point shooting and then the slow pace that they play with. In terms of your defense and trying to defend the three-point line, what are the types of things that you hope to see from your guys and the type of physicality to bring to be able to kind of keep that at bay?
Yeah, again, our league has been very physical because one of the maturity of our league and the age of our league. We got a lot of teams that are playing 4 or 5 seniors. In fact, it was ironic, but every time we put up a scout board in our offices, it's senior, grad, senior. So you're playing a lot of older teams now. And Dayton is a team that, wasn't in the tournament last year. Now they're in the tournament. And Anthony's done an incredible job with them. And they got a lot of guys coming back. In fact, I'm not sure they have a senior that's in their rotation. So it's a team that is scary that way. And so we've just got to be who we are. I think that's the thing that we've got to do. Our offense, I think we're one of 13 teams right now currently in the country that have a Ken Palm that's in the top 40 of both offense and defense. So that's what you want to be. That's what you want to be pretty solid in both areas. And our team's been that. And they're a very good defensive team. So it's going to be a challenge for our offense, and they're hard to guard because they stretch you to the three-point line, and then they got a pro that's in the middle. So it's going to be a challenge to our defense as well. But again, we've played teams like this. We've been prepared for teams like this because of the league that we play in, and hopefully our guys can sense that. And you got to get off to a good start, and you got to impose your will a little bit, and hopefully we can do that.
Tom Archdeacon from Dayton. Steve, you have at least a familiarity with Dayton basketball, right? Going back to Danaher, I guess, or just talk a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Well, Newcastle's only about an hour from Dayton, so a lot of familiarity there. I knew about Dayton growing up in Newcastle, but I didn't attend camps. The only camp I attended was Coach Knight's. But I knew about Dayton a lot, but didn't really become familiar with it until '84 when I was on the Olympics, and Coach Danaher was our assistant coach. And then I really started following Dayton and understanding that. And obviously we were in the first 4 last year, and it was great getting to see Coach and spend some time with Coach when I was there for the tournament last year. But just incredible respect for Coach Danaher and what he's meant for not just for the university, but what he's done for basketball, because incredible what he's done for the game of basketball over his entire lifetime. So my recognition of what Dayton basketball is all about goes all the way back to Coach Danaher.
You just referenced Ken Palm. Ken Palmer actually lives in
Be careful. I referenced it just because of KB telling me about it this morning.
That's what I figured.
Don't let me have to dive into Ken Palm analytics because that's out of my.
Well, I guess my question is, Mike's actually talking to Ken Palmer, right? So he lives in Salt Lake. So what is the extent that your staff is dives into analytics and uses that when it comes to prepare?
Very much, just because we've got a young staff other than Coach Neal and I. We're the experienced old guys, and there becomes a part in our meetings, Alex, to where all this analytic, all this graph stuff, all this is great, but then, Coach Neal and I'll throw in, he can really play, period, or he's not that good. We go back to the old school stuff as well. But, analytics today are huge. They're a big part of what you do and how you set things up, but we are still a little bit old school too. You got to, it's like the custodian that said that a long time ago when I was at Manchester. You got to put it in one end, you got to keep it out of the other end. Sometimes we make it a little bit more complicated than that.
You mentioned Mountain West and how much that's prepared you last night Colorado State went out and had a nice statement win over Virginia. I guess your thoughts on that, and then just the Mountain West as a whole going into this thing, I think being a little undervalued nationally, and maybe the chip on the collective Mountain West shoulder that you all as individual schools want to kind of prove.
Yeah, it's the first time I think in my career that we actually had a group text of the head coaches after the selection show. So it was good that Nico and his team kind of got things rolling in a very fired up way, because they obviously played really well to dismantle a Virginia team that's very, very well coached and a lot of experience was very impressive. So our league's gotten off to a really good start, and hopefully we can continue that.
Matthew Coles, Associated Press. You're talking about being an old school coach, an older coach. How much has NIL and transfers figured into it where it didn't really figure into it just a few years ago? How's that changed your job?
Yeah, a lot, and it's made it just a busier time. I was talking to our athletic director and staff, some boosters that we have in the hotel this morning about it, that normally this is all about just watching tape on Dayton, watching as many game tapes as you can that they've played and the schemes that you want to try to devise both offensively and defensively, and yet we're on the phone doing Zooms last night for almost 2 hours with recruits. It's very, very different now. Recruits are on visits now. It's an odd, that part of it's odd. I still wish there was a period of time that the 68 teams that are in the field can enjoy being something that you've worked for 4 or 5 months, to be a part of something special like this, that's your only focus. And then when we get past Phoenix and the Final Four, then we open it up for, that's always been the norm. Coaches know that once your season's over, then recruiting happens. It's odd that the recruiting now is happening before your season's even over. I think that's an odd thing that really shouldn't happen. It should be, and we do a good job. It's all about our current team. It's all about what we're doing, but the rules are the way they are now, or the lack of, and you have to do the things like we did last night to prepare for the next wave of recruits that are coming in.
Okay, we have time for a couple more questions. We're going to go to Zoom, and Chris Murray has a question for you, Coach.
Hey, Coach, I know you've worn a patch honoring Coach Knight throughout this entire season. I'm curious what you thought he would have thought of this year's version of the Nevada Wolfpack and how you guys have played basketball.
Yeah, Chris, for I think the majority of the season, he would have really liked what he's seen, just because I know what kind of characters we have on our team. These are high character guys that they do the job in the classroom, they do the job in the community, they represent. You play for Coach Knight, you always know it's about the front of the jersey. So I think he would appreciate what our guys do and how hard they play. They've understood, we've talked about it here late in the year, they've understood, and it's one of the things that Coach was great about, was going about the will to prepare, and then the art of going from being a hard-working team to a really good competing team, going to that next level of work. And I think he would have been impressed with how we value the ball. We don't beat ourselves very often. We take care of the basketball. We get good shots, and then we really try to guard. I think if anything, he'd probably be shocked that it was somebody like me that's coaching a team that is guarding well. I think that's probably what he'd be most shocked about.
You guys have obviously built this program up and take a step every year. I guess, what would it mean to be able to go to the NCAA tournament this year and win a game and advance toward what you guys are building here at Nevada?
Yeah, I think Chris, that's the game, that's the plan, that's the next step. And I hope our guys, can play well and give ourselves a chance to do that, and we know we've got an incredible opponent to do that against. But that is our next step. This year we took a next step in the league play. We took a next step in NTE, winning a championship in Hawaii. Our non-conference was much better. Everything has been better, and this team's better than last year. Again, it doesn't mean you're going to win, doesn't mean you're going to advance, but we got a group of men in that locker room that's their goal, that's their game plan. So hopefully we can take another step and continue to build this program the way we want to build it.
Thanks. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Any other questions here in the room or Zoom? Okay. Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Appreciate your
Thanks
time.
so
Good luck
much.
tomorrow.
Thank you.